Do Crohn's disease symptoms keep coming back? Tremfya guselkumab may help. At 12 weeks, rapid symptom remission was achieved in most patients taking Tremfya, and some experienced visible improvement of their intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Explore what's possible and ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
McCrispy strips are now at McDonald's. Tender, juicy, and its own sauce. Would you look at that? Well, you can't see it, but trust me, it looks delicious. New McCrispy strips, now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're back here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. It is hour number 2, and we've got ourselves a lot of baseball to be able to dive in on, as we've got all 30 teams in action, which that's some good, clean family fun. I will say it again, Major League Baseball, do us some solid. Get us more Tuesday day games, because we don't have any of those. But you know what? We'll have a bunch of night sweats in terms of baseball on Tuesday. Additionally, we have to take a look at what we're getting on the playoff front in both the NBA and the NHL. So we've got a lot of fun things to be able to decipher there. And additionally, Michaela Bennett, she does an absolutely tremendous job deciphering this great game of baseball. She's going to be joining me in 15 minutes. I'm a little bit more of a sides and totals guy. I know that she does a pretty solid job on the prop front, so we're going to be joined by her, and it's going to be a grand old time. What else is grand is knowing that I work with the best team in the business. Everyone behind the scenes, they always hold up their end of the bargain, as it's something where it's teamwork to be able to make the dream work, as this is probably the most difficult job here at VSiN. Making me look halfway presentable in a video/moving picture format. We've got Jarens and Alexis that do a tremendous job there. You've got my producer, Corey, always doing a great job of setting me up for success, as he was able to do a nice job booking all the guests, making sure that I stayed online. Our associate producer, John, I know that he has been an A-plus addition to the staff as well. He's been able to do a tremendous job making sure that everything gets all squared away for us as well. And then if you're listening on the audio side, whether that be on SiriusXM channel 158 or after the fact, every single hour of every single show, that's up in podcast form over at VSiN.com/podcast. We've got our man Chris doing a tremendous job on the ones and twos. So big thanks to everyone behind the scenes. They do such great work making sure that everything that you hear on VSiN is all nice, crisp, and clean, that you get all the good graphics, and now it's my job to be able to deliver on some winners. And first things first, before we dive in on the baseball front, do have to alert you guys that we've got now an opener for game number 5 between the OKC Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves. This after we saw a harebrained game where the OKC Thunder, they got the job done on the money line, but they did not cover the spread. This was a closing spread of 3. They win 128-126 because they had a tough time inbounding the ball in the final minute of the game. But that's it for the Thunder. Returning home for Wednesday, they're now 8.5-point favorites. That total is 220.5. Personally, if I had to play anything right now, I'd be looking at more at the under. I have been saying this on the network for the last few weeks, and I'll continue to say it. I am very much an in-game bettor when it comes to the NBA. If you've done absolutely nothing but bet the team that's gotten down by double figures all throughout the playoffs, you made yourself a boatload of money. And I think that that's going to continue, and I will not be surprised if at some point the Timberwolves get down double figures and you're able to find a relatively good opportunity to be able to bet them. And I do think that for the Timberwolves, you see a little bit of a bounce back for Julius Randle after he had 5 more points than myself. It was absolutely insane in game number 3. So I'd be probably taking a look at a player prop for his over, but I'd be looking at more of those role players that were able to pop off here in game number 3 or game number 4 that had their great performances, and I think that they might be going under. So that's the way that I'd be deciphering that. And then you do have on the hockey front, the Carolina Hurricanes, they were finally able to get a win in the Eastern Conference Final. A 15-game losing streak entering into the night here on Monday. They do get the job done by a count of 3-0. And now they're a relative pick'em for game number for game number 5. Right now, that's a line where the Florida Panthers in some places are a slight favorite. There are some places that have this pretty much even money, but that said, I'd be just taking a look at a puck line here because with regards to the puck line, it's been treating you very well. Laying a puck and a half. You don't want to be taking the puck and a half and laying like minus 250, minus 270 juice or anything like that. You want to be laying a puck and a half because more than 66% of these games here in the postseason, they have been decided by multiple goals. So that's something that I'm very much going to be looking at there. But how about if we dive in on my main sport this time of year? We've got ourselves a lot of great baseball action that's going to be going down on this Tuesday. And how about if we start right here with the fact that we've got the Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies doing action. This is going to be one of the early games. This is right at the top of the board, 9:51, 9:52. Spencer Strider goes for the Bravos, and Ranger Suarez goes for the Phillies. The total is 8.5, and for the Phils, very slight favorites, anywhere between minus 109 to minus 115. We're going to be fighting between about even money, minus 108, with regards to the Atlanta Braves, and total on this game is 8.5. I just can't buy in on the Atlanta Braves with Spencer Strider on the mound until we actually see a little bit more of a sample size. Because for Spencer Strider, throughout his career, he gets about 13.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he has yet to really be able to find that strikeout stuff. And with him having only made, I believe now 3 starts, maybe now 4 over the last 2 years, you just don't know what you're going to be able to get out of him. That's not an unknown that I'm going to be willing to gamble on. Meanwhile, for Ranger Suarez, had that just absolutely abysmal first start of the season. Ever since then, he's been able to round into form. For Ranger Suarez, is he the most trustworthy guy in the world? No, he's not. But at the same time, I know what I'm getting out of him rather than Spencer Strider. And I will say this for the Philadelphia Phillies. Not a bullpen that you want to be gambling on too much in general, because now you've got Jose Alvarado. He was apparently taking weight loss supplements, and he got suspended 80 games. So congratulations on trying to be able to go on the slim fast diet. Well, now your checkbook is going to be a little bit slimmer as a result. So good on you, Mr. Jose. Now you've got Matt Strom, who's been able to give you about a 3.5 ERA, and really the lone guy in the bullpen that's giving you a sub-4 ERA. So Ryan Kerkering, Tanner Banks, all these guys have been having a relatively rough go of it this year. And for the Atlanta Braves, even though Spencer Strider is relatively untrustworthy, you do have a lot of guys that have done a nice job being able to supply in that bullpen. Dasbell Hernandez, Dylan Lee. You can throw in there Pierce Johnson, give you a sub-3.5 ERA. The Rossi Iglesias, the closer, has been shaky to say the least. And for Ron Acuna Jr., he's been back for 2 games for the Atlanta Braves. He's got 2 home runs. I don't think that he's going to be on pace to be able to give you a home run a game, but that's something that you do like to see for them. You've been able to have Matt Olson now be able to give you 12 home runs. Not necessarily for the world's greatest average, but he's been able to give you a little bit of on base. Now you need to get Michael Harris and Ozzie Albies going. Albies has been able to get it going a little bit more in terms of the average, but still has been a little bit shaky there. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, guys not named Kyle Schwarber have had a little bit of a tough time hitting the deep ball. Schwarber with 18-plus home runs, starting here at 4 on base, have loved what I've seen out of him. Bryce Harper's also give you 8 home runs, starting to move the line a little bit more, but other than that, those are the only 2 guys that are giving you 6-plus home runs. The likes of Max Kepler, Trey Turner down for what? These guys are mostly hitting for a good average, but not necessarily hitting that deep ball. I think that makes it a very interesting handicap here, and it's a big reason why I did set my total at an 8.4. I think that the Braves are going to have a propensity to remove Spencer Strider from this game relatively early if he is just struggling a little bit in general, just because I think that it's hard for him to be able to work his way back, and we just haven't necessarily seen him at full force in a few years, so I do like this total under. And for the Phillies, set them at a minus 112 on the money line, so I'm going to be taking a look at that money line. What else I'm taking a look at is one of the great podcasts here at the network, and hey, sometimes I'm on it because we've got ourselves the Morning Bets podcast. Start your day with an edge and a game plan. The VSiN Morning Bets podcast is your first look at the day's betting lines, sharp action, market movement, all in just 15 minutes. So you'll get everything that you need to know, make smarter wagers, and stay out of line moves before your morning coffee is gone. Hosted by our team of experts, the VSiN Daily Morning Bets podcast is fast, focused, and built for bettors like you. Listen to the VSiN Daily Morning Bets podcast wherever you get your podcast or on the VSiN Watch app. It's the sharpest way to be able to start your betting day. The VSiN Daily Morning Bets podcast, as it is cashing out with myself, Greg Hughes Peterson, holding it down for Joe Sorrell tonight right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And I mentioned these guys at the top, and we're going to mention it once again. Here's a team that you don't want to bet on, the Colorado Rockies. 9-45 this season. Like, they need to win 3 out of their next 6 games to avoid the worst 60-game start in MLB history. That was the St. Louis Browns in 1897. Like, that's a level of stink that we're looking at right now with the Rockies. Right now, they're plus 279 on the money line, with it being Irma Marquez going up against Cade Horton. Here's a who. Cade Horton has made, I believe now 2 career starts, and he's finding himself as north of a $3 favorite, and it's justified. There's no betting on this Colorado Rockies team. They don't do anything well other than the fact that they're not the world's worst bullpen out there. I'll give a little bit of credit to Jake Bird, Zach Ognos. They're giving you a little bit of an effort, but it does no good when your starting team, or when your team's starting ERA is north of a 6. You have Germán Marquez, who's giving you now 5 strikeouts per 9 innings. That guy should have been traded at the deadline 4 years ago. That's so many of these Colorado Rockies guys, and this front office has no idea what they're doing. They don't have much of a farm system. They have absolutely nothing at the plate. They're hitting below the Mendoza of 200 when they're away from home, and here's how bad it is. They're getting outscored by the amount of runs per game that the New York Mets are giving up. They have been outscored right now this season by 173 runs. The New York Mets this year have given up 173 runs. That's how bad it is for this team. I am just absolutely baffled as to how they have an organization at this point. What are we doing here with the Colorado Rockies? And there's no way to be able to even take a plus 1.5 run line or anything like that, because out of their 45 losses, all but 6 of them have been by multiple runs. Right now, if you're looking at this run line for the Chicago Cubs, you're laying a minus 145, which I get it. That sounds ridiculous. You always want to be trying to get these plus money, underdogs and everything like that. Take the profit where it's there. Out of the now 54 games that the Colorado Rockies have played, 39 losses have been by multiple runs. So they are, on average, if you include the wins, losing these games more than 66% of the time by multiple runs. So you're actually getting really good value here with the Chicago Cubs. It sounds insane where it's minus 145 to lay a run and a half with Cade Horton. Here's a who. I think that he's got a little bit of upside. Good young kid from Oklahoma, was pitching out there at the college level a few seasons ago. But for the Cubs, you also have the number 1 offense in all of baseball, which that's important because the wind is going to be blowing in a little bit in this game. I told a little bit north of an 8. I like the overs because Germán Marquez hasn't had a lot of command. He's giving up just a lot of general contact. And for the Chicago Cubs, you've got so many guys like, say, Suzuki, Pete Crow Armstrong, that would be able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. And shout out Carson Kelly, north of 400 base, 9 home runs in his first 105 or so at bats this season. And for the Colorado Rockies, just nobody's supplying any offense on the road whatsoever. So I'm going to be looking at that run line of the Cubs. And with regards to the total, we're going to be in on the over as well. We'll look at more competitive teams coming up next as Michaela Bennett. She does an absolutely tremendous job gauging this great game of baseball. Joins us every week on VSiN, and she'll be joining me next right here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Discovering a better way to money, that's everyone's jam. No matter what goals you've got queued up, a Northwestern Mutual advisor can help uncover opportunities that others might overlook. Let's get started at nm.com. The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're back here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Great to be joined by this lady on the Progressive Guest Line as we've got Michaela Bennett aboard. She does a tremendous job over at Underdog Fantasy, taking a look at this great game of baseball. She does a great job reporting on all things out there on the diamond. And Michaela, it's great to get you aboard. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me tonight.
Always good to have you aboard. I know that you've been joining Joe all throughout the season, and you were on a massive hot streak last week, so let's see if we can get the magic here. As I left off talking about the, awfulness of the Colorado Rockies. There's a lot of people that don't want to be laying the juice on their money lines, run lines, what have you, but you seem to have found a little bit of something in this Cubs versus Rockies game that could yield a profit. What are you taking a look at in terms of prop from for this Cubs game?
I am going to take Seiya Suzuki over 1.5 total bases. First off, facing the Rockies, but he's one of the hottest hitters in baseball the past week. He's hitting 480 over the last week with 4 doubles and 3 home runs. So taking that 1.5 total bases seems like a gimme, especially in this matchup against the Rockies.
And could this be just really a way to be able to fade the Colorado Rockies? Because everything is getting juiced. Like the team totals, the sides, the totals, all of it. Might it be just taking a look at some of these player props, looking at like total bases, or perhaps in a circumstance like we saw this weekend, like a home run prop with Aaron Judge?
Yeah, I think it's one of those where it's like, okay, what is likely to happen given the statistics? And then against the Rockies, it just makes it a little bit more favorable. So definitely to some of those prop bets that you can get, I think, whenever they're facing the Rockies right now.
Yeah, I think that that's the best way to be able to go about it because, man, this is rough. We are at 9-45 this season. They're on pace for 135 losses. Just absolutely wild, to say the least. What else is absolutely wild is this game where I always love to be able to take a look at the home and road splits of Logan Webb, and right now he's a very slight favorite against the Detroit Tigers and Jack Flaherty. Total on this game is 7, and personally, I'm going to be looking to bet a little bit against Logan Webb, but you're actually going to back up sort of my fade of Logan Webb with the fact that you think that Jack Flaherty is going to give a good performance here on Tuesday.
I do. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a pitcher's matchup. Like you said, going against Webb. Flaherty, right now, I'm going to take him over 5.5 strikeouts for the game. He's averaging almost 6.5 per game with his last 3 outings. He had 9, 7, and 5 strikeouts. So I'm going to take the over 5.5 strikeouts on Jack Flaherty for tomorrow's game.
And Jack Flaherty has been really getting a lot of strikeouts. What's been killing him has been the deep ball this far this season, but north of 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, so has been very rock solid on that front. And what else has been pretty rock solid for you is if you've been betting against the LA Angels the last 3 games, as they go on an 8-game win streak and then they lose a series to the Miami Marlins. They drop game number 1 on Monday to the New York Yankees, and now they have to go up against Carlos Rodon and the Yankees, with it being Tyler Anderson on the flip side for the Angels. How do you take a look at this Yankees versus Angels matchup? One where I think that the Angels had a little bit of a hot streak, and it's really a case where I don't think that that's going to be long-lasting moving forward.
Yeah, I think their hot streak has definitely come to a close. And the Yankees, again, like they're the top of their division. They're always going to be the cream of the crop. But right now, Carlos Rodon on the mound tomorrow. I'm going to take the Yankees money line here. Again, they're playing the Angels, but Rodon has a 1.9 ERA in the month of May. He is heating up. He's doing so well. And I think if the Yankees can score early and give Rodon some run support, I'm going to take the Yankees money line in this game.
And the big thing with Carlos Rodon as well, the fact that he's just not giving up the deep ball anymore. That was really the thing that was killing him so much over the last few seasons, and now he's back up to about 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. And would you perhaps consider a little bit of like a player prop or a K prop on Carlos Rodon? Because the one thing that I've noticed with the LA Angels is that you've got a team that has a lot of guys that hit the deep ball, but if they don't hit the deep ball, they just don't have any offense whatsoever. Might be perhaps the most all or nothing offense out there in all baseball.
Yeah, they definitely swing for the fences. So Rodon's strikeout is definitely one to look at as well. I think there's a lot of prop bets you can favor around him, especially right now in the month of May. He's been doing so well. So I think tomorrow I would definitely fade him because I think he's going to be really good against the Angels.
Absolutely, as we do have Michaela Bennett. She does great work over at Underdog Fantasy, joining me right here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And I love that you put this one in there because I am going to be looking to bet on the Seattle Mariners. With the Mariners, it looks like it's going to be Logan Evans who's going to be getting the start for them. Mitchell Parker is on the bump for the Washington Nationals, and I want to get your thoughts here because I just take a look at Mitchell Parker, and it feels like he's been mispriced after a really good start to the season, and the fact that he comes into this game and, shall we say, not so great form, to say the least.
Yeah, Seattle is coming back home after a losing series in Houston in a division matchup. They are still top of the division right now. I definitely think they're going to come back after a day off and get this win back in Seattle. So I'm going to take Seattle money line on this game just because I think coming back home to the West Coast after a division series loss, they're going to take this one home tomorrow night.
And I think that's really interesting with the Seattle Mariners as well, because I've I do a lot of podcasts with the pre and post game host for their radio network, Curtis Rogers, and he always points out just how T-Mobile Park really suppresses offense. How differently do you have to take a look at the Seattle Mariners when they're at home versus away from home? Because they've got one of the most interesting ballpark factors in all of baseball.
Yeah, I definitely think that's something to look at. And, the comfortability of being home. The offense knows where they're at. They know where the ball flies better, where it doesn't. The pitchers know a little bit more comfortability of the outfield, how far the ball is going to go, that sort of thing. So I think being home definitely helps and is just a little bit more comfortable in these environments.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned that as well, because one thing that I've noticed this year, typically you do get some interesting home and road splits in baseball. Feels like they're on steroids this year. Like with the Kansas City Royals, they're 17-10 at home. They've been 12-16 on the road. Really, that entire AL Central. It's been a big, giant, just chasm of teams that have had a massive home and road split. Heck, the NL East, we've had the Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies be far better at home rather than on the road. Is that something that you've had to take into account a little bit more this season than in the past?
I think it's something I've definitely looked at more in terms of record, home and away, not so much in terms of each player, but I definitely have looked at, each team's record home and away. The Astros for a while were playing much better at home than they were on the road. It's kind of evened out a little bit, but that's something that I took into account. And I think as the season progresses, it'll probably even out a little bit more. But it is something that now that every team plays, every team as well, it's not just so much of just division rivals, that is something that comes into play and does factor in on some of these prop bets as well as some of these money lines.
No question about it. And I forgot to mention the biggest one of all. The St. Louis Cardinals, 19-8 at home, 11-16 on the road. So that has been a massive split, to say the least. And this has been a man that you could put him at home, you could put him on the road. I think that you could put him on Planet Pluto, and he's going to be able to deliver. Hunter Brown going to be going up against the Athletics, whatever you want to call them, Sacramento, Oakland, Las Vegas. But right now, $2 favorite for Hunter Brown. Total on this game, 7.5. Take me through this game, because Brown has been one of the most dominant pitchers in all of baseball, coming off of a little bit of a rough start, but I really love what I've seen out of him this season.
Yeah, he is coming off a rough start in Tampa Bay. I do think that the ball was a little bit hard to grip, and down there where it was very humid, an outside park in Florida in the summer is definitely not pitcher friendly when it comes to trying to grip the ball, especially when you're used to playing in an inside dome like Houston is. So Hunter Brown has been incredible, like you said. He's been being talked about as a Cy Young candidate. And right now I'm going to take him over 6.5 strikeouts for tomorrow's game. I definitely think this is going to be a bounce back game for Brown. They're facing the A's. He's averaging a little over 7 strikeouts per game. And I don't think he's going to have 2 bad starts coming into tomorrow. I think it's going to be a really big bounce back. He has been one of the best starters for the Astros, and I think he's really going to pick up the pieces from where he left off prior to last start and just continue on that. He was averaging like 9 strikeouts a game for like 3 or 4 games in a row. So I'm definitely going to take his strikeouts tomorrow on the over.
Yep, I like that play right there, because with the Athletics, while you do have a few guys out there on this lineup that they do a nice job of being able to make contact, move the line, you do have some free swingers out there as well. And then I do want to ask you about this as well, because Michaela, you do a great job on the prop front. With regards to props, I notice a lot of K-props. Do you ever take a look at a pitcher to be able to record a win, or is that a market that you just stay away from altogether?
I tend to stay away from it. I'm kind of in the lump of wins aren't a pitcher stat right now. And I think we kind of see that with Garrett Crochet and the Red Sox right now, with what Crochet has done and his win-loss record, as well as Boston's win-loss record whenever Crochet is on the mound, isn't exactly a reflection of what the pitcher can do. So I do try to stay away from that, just because I think it's a little unpredictable in terms of what the offense can do. But there are some guys that I love pretty much all of their strikeout locks. Cease is a big one. Scuba with what he did on Sunday. Crochet, Hunter Brown. I think there's some that I absolutely will almost always take their over on strikeouts while, it's favorable odds earlier in the season. But I definitely think that it will change as the season comes a little bit later into the year.
And I'm so glad that you gave that answer, because I've always been a big proponent that you want to stay away from the wins prop, because a guy could go out there and throw 8 scoreless innings, not record the win. So I think that that's very well said by you. And Michaela, you always do a great job every week here on the network. Delivered once again, and always appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Have a good night.
Was great to be able to get Michaela Bennett aboard. Does a great job on the prop front and so much more of Major League Baseball. And coming up next, let's take a look at some American League games for this Tuesday on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're back here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. It was great to be joined by Michaela Bennett in the last segment. Does great work over at Underdog Fantasy. Taking a look at this great game of baseball that we all know and love, and does a great job on the prop front. So big thanks to her for joining me in the last segment. Now, how about if we dive in on some of these games that we've got in baseball on Tuesdays? We've got all 30 teams in action, and one thing that I've been noticing this baseball season is because I like to do a little bit of trend spotting with regards to Major League Baseball. This team has been incredibly hot to the under, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys are going to be picking up what I'm putting down here. This is 961, 962 on the card. We got the Walker Texas Rangers playing us to the Toronto Blue Jays. Bowden Francis is on the bump for the Jays, and Nathan Eovaldi goes for Texas. This opened up at a 7.5. This has now gone to an 8 with regards to the Texas Rangers. You're going to be finding them on the money line in that neighborhood about a minus 160, minus 165, neighborhood about plus 140, plus 150. That number on Toronto. If you're looking to lay run half with the Rangers, you're going to be getting that at a plus 130. And call me crazy, but I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the run line. Yes, reference money moves right there. But you know what, with the Texas Rangers, at some point, there needs to be some positivity with this offense. They only put up one solo home run in the game on Monday for the Texas Rangers. It's really been surprising what we've seen out of this offense. Right now, they are cranking out 3.3 runs per game. That is third worst in all of baseball. Actually, now with the Kansas City Royals game from on Monday, it's out second worst in all of baseball. Third worst, because you got the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Colorado Rockies, and then the Texas Rangers. So they are dead last in terms of the American League. But for the Rangers, I just believe that these guys are too good to be staying down this long. Now, I don't think that they're going to be rallying and they're going to be hitting for like a 300 at the end of the year or anything like that, because you do have quite a few guys on this roster that just aren't necessarily amazing at being able to move the line, like we have found out the last few years that Adolis Garcia is very much all or nothing guy. But I mean, it's Adolis Garcia, Jake Berger, Marcus Semien, throw in there Evan Carter. You just go down the list of these guys. They're getting a 215 or lower. Just absolutely wild, to say the least. And you do have to expect a little bit more positivity, especially with the Joshes. Josh Smith, Josh Young, both hitting north of a 265. You've been able to get Wyatt Langford going a little bit as well. He was the lone guy that was able to score for the team on Monday, as he was able to hit that solo run. He's up to 10 this season. And for Bowden Francis, he has been a human pinata this year. He was doing for regression in 2023. He was doing for regression in 2024. And 2025 has been a complete menace to this guy. He has given up 15 home runs in north of 50 innings thus far this season. 2.7 home runs per 9 innings, currently posting a 5.54 ERA, backed up by a 6.50 fielding independent. And it's a case where with the Texas Rangers, Nathan Eovaldi has been good. Like, Nathan Eovaldi has been really good. He's right now supplying you with a sub-2 ERA. I just noticed that with Nathan Eovaldi. It just feels like every single year he gets hurt like mid-season. It completely derails him, and as far as this season, he's only got a 4-3 record, despite the fact that he's got a .60 ERA. Guy has been a very much tough luck loser. Like, last time he went out there, gave up a solo home run in 6 innings against the New York Yankees, and the team loses 1-0. It's like, what are you going to be able to do there? He has not gotten a lot of run support, to say the least. And for Eovaldi, right now he's giving up only about a half home run per 9 innings, 9.5 strikeouts, 1.2 walks per 9 innings. Now, the Rangers bullpen is not necessarily great, neither is the Blue Jays bullpen. Both of these teams relatively league average with regards to their bullpen ERA. For the Texas Rangers, you've had guys like a Jacob Latz and company not necessarily be the world's best in terms of their long relief. You've had someone like a Chris Martin not be able to give you a ton in that bullpen. I like what I'm seeing out of Robert Garcia, though. And then for the Toronto Blue Jays, you've had Yimi Garcia along with also Chad Green. Both give you right around about a 3.5 or so in terms of that ERA. Mason Fluharty, I remember a few days ago, he entered with like a sub-2 ERA. He gave up 4 runs without getting a single out. That's not great. And Jeff Hoffman has not necessarily been tremendous in this bullpen either. And for as much as I talk about the Texas Rangers and their struggles at the plate, the Blue Jays are actually having their struggles at the plate as well. This team is in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, only generating about 3.4 runs per game when they are away from home. And the big reason why is that you just don't have any power on this team. Dalton Varsho, who missed north of 30 games this season, is right now leading the team in home runs. Like, I did not think that we would be seeing that sort of circumstance. And you've got guys moving the line. Like, George Springer has been able to give you north of a 360 on base. You've been able to get quite a bit of production out of Nathan Luke. So you've been having quite a few guys like a Bo Bichette hit for a relatively solid average. Like Vigor Jr., say what you will about his power being down, he's still finding a way to be able to get on base, but they're just not giving you any sort of the power ball whatsoever. I do think that for the Blue Jays, they find a way to be able to crank out across a few runs against Eovaldi, and for Bowden Francis, it's just been a rough start to the season for him, and I think that continues for the Rangers. If you could get like a plus 135 in terms of that run line, so would like to see it progress up a little bit more, would be looking there. And then with regards to Soto, I set mine to where on the 8, I'm going to be taking a look at the over as well, as it is cashing out right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And here at the Sports Betting Network, we do a great job of being able to give you guys all the splits on what we're seeing across every major sport. You're able to get splits from both Circa and DraftKings, so that way you're able to see the full scope of the market, because Circa, they're taking the massive big bets from all these massive players, and then you get a little bit more of a market perspective or a broader perspective with regards to DraftKings. So you get the best of both worlds there. It's for every single game in every single major sport, and you're able to get this for as low as $9.99 when you go to VSiN.com/subscribe. So you've got a great deal there, as it is cashing out with myself, Greg Hoops Peterson, here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, holding it down for Joe Sorrell tonight, and we're going to look to hold it down with the fate of this team. Has failed me the last few nights, but you know what? With the Baltimore Orioles, I do believe that they are overpriced once again here against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals 11-16 on the road compared to, I believe now, 19-8 at home, but I do think that there's a bit of value here with St. Louis. This is 969, 970 on the board. Andre 3000 Palante is on the bump for St. Louis, and Tomoyuki Sugano goes for Baltimore, and right now this is a pretty much pick 'em line. Total on this game is 9, and for Sugano, while he's got a sub 3.10 ERA, fielding dependence of 494. He is just screaming for regression right now. One of the worst swing and miss pitchers that you're going to find in all of baseball. 4.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's giving up a home run and a half per 9 innings. Now, to his credit, he's not going to give out any walks or anything like that, but yeah, I do have my question marks here with our good friend and Mr. Sugano, and for Andre 3000 Palante, I am far from a stan of his, and he's got a 4.18 ERA, 5.6 strikeouts, 3.2 walks per 9 innings. That's not amazing, but you know what else is not amazing? The Baltimore Orioles lineup averaging 3.8 runs per game. That is currently in the bottom 6 in all of baseball. You just have not been able to get a lot of power out of these guys. Ryan O'Hearn is actually doing a nice job giving you about a 420 on base. He's been able to supply the team with 8 home runs. Gunnar Anderson, Jackson Alday beginning at about a 265. You'd expect a little bit more in terms of their power bats there, but overall these guys have been relatively fine. Cedric Mullins right now leading the way with 10 bombs, but he's only getting about a 225 himself. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, not a lot of power on this team either. Lars Nootbaar, great name, right now leading the way with 7 home runs, but I think that Ivan Herrera, who had hit, I believe it was 5 home runs in his first 60 or so at bats, him coming back, him currently hitting north of a 350, is going to be able to help this team out quite a bit. Nolan Arenado just appears to be done for. He's not necessarily been the same guy that he was even last year, so that's been a bit of an issue, but you got these guys like a Victor Scott, Mason Wynn that do a nice job giving you north of 340 on base. And for the Cardinals, I do think that they've got the leg up in the bullpen as well. This is a Baltimore Orioles team that currently ranks in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. You've had Felix Bautista be able to supply a sub-3 ERA, and Brian Baker has been good out of that bullpen as well, but you've seen Yunier Cano regress for this team. When you're trotting out there some of these long relief guys, they just have not been great for them, to say the least. And on the flip side, you've got a Cardinals team that has Ryan Elsley, who I believe is one of the best closers in all of baseball, and additionally, you've had a pair of guys in Kyle Leahy along with Matt Svanson, who will be able to give you a sub-3.5 ERA as well. So I do think that the Cardinals go out there, they're able to get the job done against Sugano and company. I'd be willing to lay up to about a minus 116 on that St. Louis Cardinals money line. And with regards to the total, I did set my total at 8.7. I do think that you're going to be able to get a relatively good performance out of Palante here to be able to help keep this total under. So do like the under, and I do like the money line here of the Cardinals. This is another game that I like. How about if we go 923 and 924 on the card, as we've got the Cannon, Jonathan Cannon, going for the Chicago White Sox, and Tyler McGill is going for the Mets. Right now for the Mets, they are minus 260 to minus 270 favorites. Right around about plus 220 is that number on the White Sox. Total on this game, it is 8, shaded down a little bit to the under. If you're looking to lay the run line of the Mets, a pretty affordable minus 120, minus 122. Wouldn't want to really go past like a minus 128, but I'm willing to lay that run line for Cannon. He was dealing with some tightness. I forget if it was in his hamstring or in his back, but he got scratched from his start, I believe, on Sunday. So now they're putting him back out there because this was supposed to originally be Shane Smith. But for Tyler McGill, north of 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now he has given up north of 4 walks per 9, but the Chicago White Sox team really doesn't do a good job of being able to draw walks. We got a White Sox team that in general just doesn't have a lot of power. As you got a pair of guys that have been able to give you 5+ home runs this season, and Andrew Benintendi, and you've also been able to get that Miguel Vargas. But with Andrew Vaughn currently hitting for about a 220 on base, Luis Robert hitting below the middle sign of 200, you just need a little bit more on that front. And now you go up against a Mets team that they also do have a top 6 team with regards to bullpen area. Jose Buto has been a little bit shaky recently, but Reed Garrett has been very rock solid. Edwin Diaz, after a little bit of a rough start to the season as well, he seems to be rounding in form as well. So this is a total where I set mine at a 7.6 at the 8. I like the under, and I do like that Mets run line, as well as we've got ourselves a tremendous slate that's going to be going down on Tuesday. I wonder if we take a look at a little bit more at the National League on the flip side. On Cashing Out on Visa, the Sports Betting Network.
Airwick Essential Mist Diffuser transforms your space, creating your perfect ambiance with a wide range of inviting fragrances that make your guests go, oh. Airwick Essential Mist Diffuser's easy-to-change refills allow you to choose your perfect fragrance for any occasion, like lush honeysuckle and raspberry, and vibrant island coconut and warm sands. And if guests start shifting from the table to the couches, no worries. It's perfectly portable and cordless. Airwick Essential Mist Diffuser, always inviting.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
We are back here on Cashing Out on Visa, the Sports Betting Network. We've got ourselves a great slate of baseball for what we're going to be getting on Tuesday. All 30 teams are in action, so how about if we dive in on a few more of these games? As we spent a lot of time on the American League in the previous segment, how about if we go National League here? And we've got ourselves the old Slam Diego Padres coming off of a extra inning win on Monday, and now we'll look to duplicate it on Tuesday. 9:57, 9:58 on the card. It is old Steven Kolek who's going to be on the bump for the Pods, and Max Meyer goes for Miami. Right now, this is a total of 7.5 shaded up to the over, and for the Pods, they're between -170, -175 favorites, right around about +160, +155 or so is that number on Miami. And for Max Meyer, hasn't been the world's worst pitcher, but still, he does give up quite a bit of hard contact. He's getting a little bit north of 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, but also 1.4 bombs per 9 innings, so you do have to have your trepidations there. Good news for him is that he goes up against a Padres team that they play in a little bit more of a pitcher-friendly ballpark. As we know, Petco is a little bit hard to be able to drive the ball out of. And for the Padres, it's been interesting to take a look at their power numbers because you've got Fernando Tatis Jr., who's been amazing. He's been able to give you 12+ home runs this season. Absolutely loving what I'm seeing out of him, but other than Gavin Sheets, who he's now been able to supply you with 10 home runs this season. He's been doing a very good job moving line as he's been able to give you about a 275 average. You really don't have anyone outside those two guys giving you north of 6 home runs. Manny Machado is starting to pick it up a little bit more at 6 home runs. You expect a little bit more from him this time of year, but he's still been able to hit about a 320 for this team. Jackson Merrill's moving lining for about a 365 on base. Luis Rise is finding way on as well. So these guys are hitting for a lot of average, not necessarily so much power. And for the Miami Marlins, you've got Kyle Sowers who's hitting double-figure amount of homers, north of a 370 on base. You really don't have a lot of other guys who are hitting for the team. Augustin Ramirez has come up from the minor league level, and he's honestly been relatively solid. He's hitting for about a 250. He's been able to give you 6 home runs, and you've got Matt Mervis who provides a little bit of power, but that has really waned as he's down to hitting about a $175 with 7 home runs. So you're going to need a little bit more there. They've got Xavier Edwards, who hit for a cycle last season against the Milwaukee Brewers, currently on the injured list. Additionally, you've been dealing with the injury to their main guy that was able to find a way on base, Shane Myers, who was hitting north of a 330. So that's been a relative issue for this team. And for the Miami Marlins, just don't have a ton of faith in this bullpen either. They're currently in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. You've got Ronnie Enriquez along with Anthony Bender, who will be able to give you a sub-2 ERA. So these guys have been pretty solid. But then when you get down to these guys like a Calvin Fauché, Jesus Sunoco, Anthony Veziano, giving north of a 4.75 ERA, these guys are just not necessarily great. And for the San Diego Padres, if you look overall for the season, they're hovering right around 10th of the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. I believe that they're a little bit better than this, as you've had Andre Morejon be a relatively good long guy with a sub-3.5 ERA, but additionally, you've been able to get really good production in terms of a lot of these guys. They'll be able to give you that sub-2.75 ERA. Jason Adam has been really good ever since the beginning of the part of last year as well. You've been able to get some also pretty solid production out of someone like Jeremiah Estrada as well. So I do think that the Padres going to do a nice job piecemealing this thing together. And for Max Meyer, I do think that his hard contact issues going to be coming to the forefront here. I did set the Padres at a minus 222 on the money line. If you're looking at the run line, getting that at plus 125, I set mine at a minus 112. I think that you've got some solid value there. And I did set my tilt at an 8.2. You're at a 7.5, seeing that at most spots. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over, and I'm going to be willing to take a shot on that run line as well. And what else we're looking to take a shot on is some horse racing. Over at First Bet, they make sure that you're able to get access to every single horse race every single day, whether that's at Santa Anita, Gulfstream Park, Saratoga course. First Bet, they put the action at your fingertips. Sign up over at firstbet.com. That's the number one, stbet.com. Utilize that promo code of VSIN200. That is VSIN200, as that'll get you a 20% rebate on your first 60 days of wagers up to $200. That's over at firstbet.com. Number one, stbet.com. As it is cashing out with myself, Greg Oops Peterson, right here on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network. And we do have ourselves a fun slate of baseball to be able to dive in on, but we want to take a look at a little NBA as well. I've neglected to mention the fact that, the New York Knicks, they saved their season yesterday, and now they've got a critical game number 4 that's going to be coming up here on Tuesday against the Indiana Pacers. Pacers pretty much where they were in game number 1. They're a 2-point favorite. That totals between 220.5 and a 221, and I do believe that the Pacers are just a better team in this series. Now, what I do also believe to be true is that if you look at this entire series, the biggest mismatch I can think of is what Karl Anthony Towns is able to provide down low for the New York Knicks against the bigs of the Indiana Pacers. Just feels like the likes of Turner and company have not been able to do a great job. I'll be able to stay in front of them. For Karl Anthony Towns, he's having himself a just good postseason in general. What we saw in that last game, 24 points, 15 rebounds. Big reason why the team was able to get the job done. They were able to have that nice fourth quarter comeback, and that's the way that I'm looking to play these playoffs. I know that it doesn't sound like it requires a bunch of research. I know it sounds simple. Just bet the team that's down double figures live. Like, if you've done absolutely nothing else other than wait for a live spot where a team is down double figures, you've made yourself a whole bunch of money this postseason, because the in the series against the Boston Celtics, the Knicks came back down 20-plus points twice in that series. They've already done so once here against the Indiana Pacers, so that's 3 20-plus point comebacks. So if you were daring enough when they got down 20 to take the money line all 3 times, congratulations on your new private island. But for the New York Knicks, I do think that this is going to be a little bit more of an uphill battle. Jalen Brunson has been obviously very good for the team. He's been able to supply 30 points worth of 7 assists per contest, and got someone in a Mr. Kyle Hart who's been able to do a nice job as a little bit of a mixer and shaker for the team. But for the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton is oh so versatile. He's able to impact the game in so many different ways as well. So I think that he's what he's been able to bring to the table is going to be very valuable. And then we saw Pascal Siakam in that game number 2 just be so rock solid for the Indiana Pacers as well. I do think that the Pacers are going to overwhelm a little bit here with the Knicks. Again, if I had to play this right now, I'd be looking at the Pacers on the money line. I just don't see them losing this game at home in game number 4, but that said, this is one that I'm going to be looking at a little bit live. Perhaps the Pacers and money line that is currently right around about minus 130 or so, that becomes even money if they take a little bit of an early deficit. So that's the way that I'm going to be deciphering that one. And how about if we do decipher a little bit of baseball that we're going to be getting on this Tuesday, as we just were done talking about the New York Knicks. How about if we go from the Knicks to talking about the New York Metropolitans? This is 973, 974 on the card. You've got yourself Jonathan Cannon and the White Sox going up against Tyler McGill and the New York Mets. And for the Chicago White Sox right now, massive plus 220 to plus 229 underdogs. And for the Mets, you're going to be finding them in that neighborhood of about you're going to be finding them on the run line at about a -125. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on that run line of the New York Mets, mainly because I do think that Jonathan Cannon is going to be relatively okay here, but that hamstring / that back injury, I think is going to be a little bit rough for them. So I do want to be putting myself on the side of a guy in McGill who's giving you about 11.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. The bullpen has been so good as well. Oscar Brzobin and company, they've been able to do a nice job of tying it down. So I'm going to be willing to take a shot there. And with regards to that total, I'm in on the under. So we do want to give you guys pretty much the New York special here on this segment and get you guys the Yankees versus the LA Angels game as well. This is 965, 966 on the card. The Angels are going to be throwing out their Tyler Anderson, and you've got Carlos Rodon on the bump for the Yankees. And the Yankees starting to become very massive favorites here. They're anywhere between -177 to -192. Meanwhile, right around +160 or so, that number on the Halos with a total of 9. And for those that know me, you know that I'm not necessarily a Tyler Anderson stan. I believe that he is doing for a lot of regression, and this guy's fielding independent every single year is like a 1.5 to 2 points lower, or 2 points higher than his actual ERA, which tells you that he's getting away with being able to strand a lot of men on base. He's giving up north of a home run after 9 innings, but somehow, some way, they're always like solo shots. So that's been very interesting to dive in on. But yet, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the money line of the Angels, just because with Carlos Rodon, even though thus far this season he's been pretty rock solid, a sub-335 ERA, he's only giving up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. You just never know when he's going to have a little bit of a blow-up start. His walks per 9 rate has been hovering right around about 3.5 as well, so that's a little bit rough. And where the Yankees, they very nearly had to go to Devin Williams in the bullpen on Monday, as Luke Weaver was a little bit shaky in that close. He was able to get the close, so you do like that. And where the Yankees, obviously a very good offensive team that has been able to have Aaron Judge give you 18-plus home runs, north of a 470 on base. Ben Rice has been able to give you double-figure amount of bombs, and Trent Grisham is doing a nice job hitting for 12-plus home runs as well. And for the LA Angels, this is a very all-or-nothing lineup, in which you had out there in the game on Monday, 6 other 9 guys hitting a 224 or lower. So that's something that does hurt you a little bit. But I mean, you've got someone like a Kyron Paris who's been able to give you 6 home runs along Joe Adell. You've been able to get good production out of Logan O'Hoppe, one of the few guys that's able to hit the bombs that is hitting above a 250. He's been able to hit north of a 275. So like what I'm seeing there. Now for the Angels, biggest trepidation that you've got. They are dead last in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Other than Ryan Zephyrian, along with also the new guy that they pick up in Andrew Chafin, really nobody that's giving you a sub-4 ERA, so that's a little bit of an issue. But I do think that for Anderson, he does just enough to be able to do some soft contact here. I'm going to be taking a shot on the under, semi total more around an 8.7, and I'm going to be willing to take a shot on that Angels money line coming up next. How about if we take a look at some interleague baseball right here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Airwick Essential Mist Diffuser transforms your space, creating your perfect ambiance with a wide range of inviting fragrances that make your guests go, oh. Airwick Essential Mist Diffuser's easy-to-change refills allow you to choose your perfect fragrance for any occasion, like lush honeysuckle and raspberry, and vibrant island coconut and warm sands. And if guests start shifting from the table to the couches, no worries. It's perfectly portable and cordless. Airwick Essential Mist Diffuser, always inviting.
When a cold has you down, it's the little comforts that lift you up. A warm blanket, a cup of tea, and a tissue that actually feels good on your skin. Infused with aloe, Kleenex Cooling Plus Aloe provides a hint of cooling freshness to help your skin feel restored. So whether your skin is feeling dry, chafed, or irritated, you're only one wipe away from helping it feel relieved. The next time you have a cold, get a hint of instant cooling relief with new Kleenex Cooling Plus Aloe. For whatever happens next, grab Kleenex.